Hello, Jubilee women. I'm so happy to be here with you. Greetings from Radiant in Visalia. Our whole community loves you and your leaders. And I was actually reflecting on 2014 was the first time I came and spoke at Deeply Rooted, which is the first time I had ever spoken outside of my home church context. And you guys were so gracious to me, and you hold a special place in my heart. I love you all, and every time I get to come back and see your faces again, it's a joy to me. This church brings me joy. So thank you for having me. Love you. We're going to jump in. We're going to be in Matthew 15, verses 21 through 28. I'm going to read the text we're going to be in, and then we're going to talk about it. This is a story of Jesus making all things new. It's a little bit of an odd one, so prepare your hearts. And Jesus went away from there and withdrew to the district of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a Canaanite woman from that region came out and was crying, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely oppressed by a demon." But he did not answer her a word. And his disciples came and begged him, saying, "Send her away, for she's crying out after us." And he answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she came and knelt before him, saying, "Lord, help me." And he answered, "It is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs." Everyone can go, "Whoa," at that point. She said, "Yes, Lord. Yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." And then Jesus answered her, "O woman, great is your faith. Be it done for you as you desire." And her daughter was healed instantly. Okay, so I bet you're wondering to yourselves, why would this lady come from California, do a women's conference, and read a story about Jesus calling a lady a dog? And you're right in wondering that. It is a weird choice. But it is actually a story that's become so deeply personal to me, and a story that's really connected to transformation and all things becoming new. And so I want to dig into this story with you guys because it's a tough one, because it's not just like an easy, straightforward read. Like, it's the kind of story in my Bible as I read along that I would put like 3 question marks in the margin and be like, I'm going to come back to that later. There's things that I don't know, I don't understand, missing some pieces here, so maybe later I'll understand that. Moving on. But I actually want to dig into this with you guys. Christians through the centuries have grappled with this story. And I'm sure there's more than 3 views, but there's 3 prevalent views of how to read this text. And I just want to can we just work through this together real quick so that then we can get into the story and kind of move past a lot of the questions that it raises. Are you guys good with that? So we're just going to kind of like do some sort of teaching here and then get to the story. Okay, so there are different ways to explain why Jesus did what he did. And each view attempts to answer these questions. Why was he silent? Why did he use a metaphor about a dog? And what made Jesus seemingly change his mind? Okay, so 3 views. The first one, view 1, we're going to call it the critical or progressive view. This view stresses Jesus' humanity. So this view says Jesus was silent because he was under the cultural prejudice of a typical Jewish man. He was the product of his upbringing. He carried the same ethnocentric view as everyone else, and because of that, he ignored her like any Jewish man would. Jesus utilizes the dog metaphor because racism and sexism were ingrained in his vocabulary, and he called her a dog because she was lower than him and less than. Jesus changed his mind and healed her because her persistent belief was strong enough to help him override his prejudices and presuppositions, and she coaxed him to clear the hurdles of his day And on this day, the woman saved Jesus from simply being a dude. And so we can conclude from this version, that is not our version. Okay, all right. This is not our version. This is not the one we're choosing. But we can conclude from this version that Jesus was fully human, that he had great things to teach us, but he can't be trusted on every point. And so we need to chew up the meat and spit out the bones. And sometimes we can approach the Bible like this, okay? And certainly there are some bones in this text. And so Jesus is not perfect, okay? Probably not a popular view here amongst us tonight. We're just gonna, all right, with that one. The problems with this view are it can't be described as a Christian view. It's not a legitimate option for us. What about the other interactions with Gentiles in the Gospels? Why did he heal the Roman centurion in Matthew 9 or the 2 blind men in Matthew 11? He wasn't racist. Why did he speak with the Samaritan woman or rescue the woman caught in adultery? He wasn't sexist. He honored women publicly. What about him flipping over the tables to drive home the point that his house would be a house of prayer for all nations? And so he came that the Gentiles would be included in the family of God. So this view doesn't work for us. Why was he even in Tyre and Sidon in the first place? Why did he go there if he didn't want those people to get what he was bringing? Okay, view number 2 is the messianic mission interpretation. And this version, this view, interpretation, stresses Jesus' priority. So Jesus was silent because he was committed to his mission, first to Israel, then to the nations. Jesus is silent because he's thinking and pondering whether healing this woman would compromise his mission. He's wondering about the timing. So it's not no, it's maybe not yet. And he's trying to, in the moment, discern, is this the right timing? Is this the right order? Okay? Jesus utilized the dog metaphor to express to the woman his priority to the people of Israel first, to express who eats first. Furthermore, the metaphor was not as offensive as we think because he actually used the term for a house dog instead of a street dog, so it was a little bit kinder of a dog term. And as you know, a lot of people are better to their dogs than they are to other humans, so maybe this was a nice thing that Jesus said to this woman. And then Jesus changed his mind because he learned the will of God after wrestling internally around the issue of priority. He decided that it was time to begin including the Gentiles, and he discovered that there was enough bread to go around. What we can conclude from this version is that Jesus' words were nicer than they appear. It's not doing it for you, is it? Okay. Nicer than they appear. That Jesus was wrestling with what to do. He expresses the valley of decision, and then God opens up to him his will, and he's looking to be obedient to his Father and doing what he's saying and doing in the moment, which is something we see Jesus doing all through the Gospels. The problems with this view include he's already included outsiders, so this was not his first rodeo. Calling someone a dog, even if it's a house dog, is still not very cool. And then I think just wrestling over, I don't know, was Jesus that unclear about what God was inviting him to do? I don't know. Seems a little too foggy for my liking. This is a legitimate interpretation that many scholars hold. He's kicking around whether or not healing the woman's daughter would violate order, not barriers. He's not concerned with cultural male-female barriers, Jew-Gentile barriers, but the unfolding order of God's mission. He's discovered a broader vision for the will of God in this moment. There's enough bread to go around. Okay, you guys get the view. View number 3. And I think that you've already sniffed out. This is the one. This is the one I'm going to go with. Right. View number 3. It's called the teacher theater view. And you might not think it's the one that I would go with because it's called theater view, which is weird, but you'll get what I'm saying. So in this view, Jesus was silent in order to play the part of a first century Jewish rabbi. Like an actor on a stage, he's playing a part in order to later make a profound point. Jesus utilized the dog metaphor to embody a view that he does not hold, but is exactly what this woman would have expected. He's reflecting the popular ideas of his day. And in doing so, he is provoking a response from this woman. The response he's wanting to provoke is a response of faith. That's what Jesus is always after, faith. Much like someone saying to you, I bet you can't. And you go, well, you want to bet? Watch me. That is what's happening here with Jesus and this woman. Because the first thing that you want to do is prove someone wrong. So a good teacher, which Jesus is, the best teacher, a good teacher will draw out a student's best insight through a challenge which doesn't necessarily reflect the teacher's own view. Think like, well, anyway, we could just probably shout out a few movies right now of good teacher scenes. In this view, Jesus doesn't change his mind on healing the woman, but responds to her request after drawing out her profound faith. In healing her, he is now reflecting his true heart for those who are on the outside. And here's why I think this is the best view. I know some of you might wrestle over like Jesus the actor, Jesus the teaser. I don't know about that. But if you read through the Gospels looking for this, you will find it. We've already observed Jesus doing this. He ignored 2 blind men who were screaming his name, begging for healing. He passed by and just kept on walking. And he made them follow after him. 2 blind men, okay? And when they finally catch up with him, then Jesus heals them. He plays hard to get. Like a game of hide and seek, he intends to hide in a place where he can be found. But he kind of makes us work for it sometimes. This is consistent with his teaching, and this is consistent with my experience with God as well. He often will offend our minds to expose our hearts. He often will do that. He won't just offend our minds to expose our hearts, to expose bad things in our hearts, but to expose faith in our hearts, to expose love in our hearts. He will provoke in ways to draw things out of us, like a good parent does. So he'll do that to provoke faith, to provoke courage. And he's drawing this woman out through purposefully putting out obstacles and challenge. And he does this because he knows that there are actually obstacles and challenges to our faith. And so it's important for us to get this. There are actual things, there are actual hurdles in our hearts that will keep us from him. And he's passionately after those things. Okay, so that's the view we're going with. Are you guys good? Are you with me? Okay. So let's just sink ourselves into this story with that view in mind. Let's get into this story. I want us to put ourselves in the shoes of this woman and just imagine what it would be like to be this woman. She is a vulnerable and desperate mother. I don't know if there's anything fiercer on the earth than a desperate mother. Her child is being demon-possessed, it says, severely demon-oppressed. I just want you to imagine, like I was even just picturing this story, and in other stories of healing, people are bringing the person who needs healing to Jesus. This woman doesn't have her daughter with her, probably because her daughter can't leave the house. How long has this woman been stuck at home? How many people has she asked for help? Like, how many things has she gone to desperate for the freedom of her child? Like, how helpless does this woman feel? Like, what torture, what absolute torture it would be to watch your child and feel like you can do nothing. You can do nothing to change it. And all the people you've gone to for help can do nothing to change it. I mean, I can just imagine that she's tried everything. This woman has tried everything within her scope to try. She's done it, and none of it's worked. This woman is an enemy of the people of God, God's special people, God's blessed, favored people. This woman, she's not one of them. She's an outsider. You guys know the promised land? That was the land of Canaan. This woman is a Canaanite. This woman is like an enemy of God's blessed, favored, chosen people. Like 1,000 years enemy rivalry. Actually, Israel's conquered enemy. That's where she's coming from, okay? So think about the guts it takes for her to walk up to a group of Jewish religious men. Think about just that hurdle in itself, especially being a woman in that day. So she does the risky thing of going to Jesus. She cries out to him, Lord. She actually uses the name Lord 3 times in this passage. So she's declaring, like before some of the people of God are, the lordship of Jesus. She says, have mercy on me, son of David. She uses that name as well. So this woman has come to a place of belief in her heart that this is the Messiah. How has she done that? She's heard about him. Like I'm just imagining, like what has this woman heard? What stories has she heard? Did she hear the story about the woman who couldn't stop bleeding, that pushed through a crowd, trying to get to Jesus, reached out and just touched the edge of his clothing and was instantly healed? Like, had she heard that story? Had she heard stories that had caused her to think, this is the Lord, this is the Son of David, and if I can just get to him, I know my daughter will be free. She's heard of his healing and delivering power, and she believes that he is her answer. And so she approaches the group of Jewish men as a woman outsider, and she asks for help. Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is severely oppressed. And she is met with silence. Have you ever experienced silence in a desperate place? So this is hurdle number 2 for this woman. I mean, hurdle number 1 is just approaching and opening her mouth, right? Hurdle number 2 is being ignored. She's put her cry out there, no response. But she overcomes silence. She doesn't let it stop her, and she goes again. She goes in again. She asks again. Next, she's met with the disciples saying, Jesus, this woman is loud and annoying, and she won't stop following us. Make her go away. So rejection from disciples. She's met with the discouragement of hostile disciples, and she refuses to let this knock her off course. She's met with rejection. She has a right here to become offended because she's not being valued. Faith in Jesus is not faith in disciples or faith in the church. But when you place your faith in Jesus, he's going to ask you to place yourself in the middle of a community of believers who are broken, who make mistakes, who fail you, who are hostile at times. And she hears their words, and she stays resolute on Jesus. She's clinging to hope. She thinks, okay, he hasn't listened to his disciples and told me to go away. So you're telling me there's still a chance. And she goes again. She doesn't give up. She goes again. This time, on her hands and knees, she gets low. She gets low on her hands and knees. Can you just, like the humility of that response, like in the face of silence, in the face of rejection, with all these opportunities to just walk away, she gets low and she says, Lord, help me. Lord, help me. Help me. You guys, I have not fact-checked this. I made this up. But I think it's true. I feel like we live in the most easily offended culture that has ever existed on the face of the earth. You cannot look at someone sideways without offending them. You cannot do or say anything without offending someone. This woman has been given ample reasons to be offended, and she is getting on her hands and knees, begging for help. We are full of pride and offense, and we are so quickly and easily called off. Like, how dare you? How dare you? How dare you ignore me? How dare you? How dare you tell me I'm annoying and I should go away? How dare you? That is the air we breathe, the air our culture breathes. The how dare you. There's no how dare you in her heart. She's down on her hands and knees. She says, Lord, help me. And Jesus says to her, it is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. She's met with the divine, go away. The divine, I'm not interested. The divine, you're not my priority, right? Again, just another opportunity for, it's just ripe with offense. He's not seeming to care. She is desperate on her hands and knees, and he is not seeming to care. And furthermore, what is that story? Like, what the heck is that story? And what does that mean? Am I the dog in the story? Like, what is going on? Like, what does that even mean? It's so blah. Have you ever experienced that? Like, have you ever been perplexed? Have you ever been faced with a response that's hard to understand, even from God? Have you ever felt like God's moved on without you? So many at this point would give up, walk away from Jesus, walk away from faith. We are seeing that left and right. It takes way less than this today for someone to just throw the whole bathwater out, throw the whole baby out, throw the whole thing out the window. What did you say to me? This woman is so tenacious. It's like, you cannot, throw your best offensive thing at me. I will not leave. Like, she will not be deterred. She pushes in again. She is clinging to the belief that Jesus will do good to her. Like, it doesn't matter what is coming. She knows he will do her good. And she is like a dog with a bone. She is the dog in the story. She's a dog with a bone. And she will not let go. And instead of taking up rejection or offense, she sees that regardless of what Jesus said or what the metaphor means, as the dog in the story, it means that she's in the house. She's in the house, and she goes, so you're telling me there's still a chance? Her response, instead of, how dare you? What's the next two words? How dare you? This woman. she says, "Yes, Lord. Yes. Yes, Lord. I know who I am. I know I don't have anything to offer you. I know I don't have a leg to stand on. Like, I know my place. I know I'm the beggar here. Yet, even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." This is like one of the most beautiful responses in the entire Bible. She says, even a dog near you, even a dog near your table gets something. Yes, Lord, I know that I shouldn't be here. I know I'm not entitled to anything. I know I have no right to come and ask you for help. But I know anything I could get from you is better than anything I could find anywhere else. And Jesus sees the response of this woman's heart. We're talking about a good teacher provoking faith. He sees the response of this woman's heart. And it's like the scene I can see in my mind is she's down on the floor next to his table saying, "Yes, Lord, but even the crumbs are better. I'll take them." And he knocks the whole feast off the table and onto the floor for her. He gets so excited about this response of her heart. Her saying, "I'd rather be a dog in your house than be anything anywhere else." And he is like, yes. I mean, this is like her pearl of great price moment. This is like where she buys the field to get the prize. She just goes all in on Jesus, and he goes all in right back on her. And he says, oh woman, great is your faith. It is actually terrific. Your faith is terrific. Jesus only says that to a few people. "Oh, woman, your faith is terrific. Be it done for you as you desire." And her daughter is healed instantly. Yes, he's like, yes, that right there. That is what I love. That is what I want. That is what I'm after. That is what you need. That is life. That right there, that's it. Yes, that. Terrific faith. Because Jesus is the feast. He is the feast. He is the main course. And this woman, she is contending. She's contending for the deliverance and healing of someone she loves. But what Jesus is longing for her to get, and what we can see all through the Gospels, this is why every time Jesus healed someone, he's talking about their faith. Because Jesus knows that the healing or the deliverance is the dessert. It's the byproduct. It's the byproduct of getting Jesus. Jesus is the feast. He's the main course. He's it. And so when he sees her heart go all in on him, he's like, yes, that's what I love. It's so beautiful. Okay. It's all about the movement of our heart. Faith is all about the reach of our heart. What is our heart reaching for? Where is our heart reaching? Where is our heart reaching when we're desperate? Where is our heart reaching when we're rejected? Where is our heart reaching when we're offended? Where is our heart reaching? Faith is the reach of our heart. And Jesus wants it. He wants it. Because that's the only place we're going to find life. The reach for anything else is death. Okay, so this story became deeply personal to me, became very real in my life, and I'm sharing this story with the permission of my husband and others. Actually, he was the one, this was a tucked away treasure in my heart that I didn't know if I would ever talk about publicly. And he told me, it's time for you to share this story. So years ago, we went into a sabbatical, which is just a period of time off of work to rest and recover. It had been an intense season, and my husband, his name is Travis, he was weary. The complexities of leading a large church were overwhelming. They were overwhelming in this season, and the weight of suffering and problems, and it was bearing down, and it felt like a crushing season. And it can be at times heavy, and I felt like he had hit a wall. We were starting to notice physical symptoms of exhaustion, memory loss, emotional thinness, and we didn't know if it was stress or if it was something worse. So we were kind of pursuing God, pursuing doctors, like, what's going on here? We later found out that he had a sleep disorder, but at this time we didn't know about it. And that was part of the equation, but we were worried. And we moved into this sabbatical period needy. And as a wife, I felt heartbroken for my husband. And I felt worried for the future, and I felt desperate for things to change. I felt the effects at home, on me, on our 5 daughters. I was longing for something different for us. Like, I was longing for that abundant life, and even wrestling over shame in this season that we weren't, we're Christian leaders and we're not experiencing this abundant life. And I just felt desperate for something to shift. We pressed into God in these months. We spent time in the Word, in worship, in nature, in play, in rest, time with mentors, time with counselors, time letting the Lord search us and know us, letting the Lord love on us and lead us, correct us, grow us. I mean, it just was like this woman. When you're desperate, you're like, all the things, anything, everything, bring it on, Whatever you have for us, God, bring it on. And it was a deeply good period of time, and I watched Travis's countenance begin to change, and I could see that he was above water, and I was feeling so deeply grateful and really hopeful for the first time in a while. And so the sabbatical ended, and he went back to work. And on his first day back to work, he went into a 6-hour meeting with dear leaders and friends that we lead with back home that we adore and trust. But the meeting was about what wasn't working at the church, what needed to change, specific ways that Travis needed to change. And it was a totally brutal first day back from sabbatical. And I just want to say, I believe in these kinds of conversations. All healthy leaders need these kinds of conversations. There are ways we need to change and grow and mature, and these conversations are really important. So I'm not saying we shouldn't have had them. I'm saying the timing of this conversation felt really brutal. And so when he got home from work that day, I was in the front yard, and I took one look at him, and I could tell that he was back underwater. And I was like, what happened? And so he told me about this meeting and what had gone on, and I felt so mad. I felt like everything started to spin. I was like, what are you talking about? what is happening? Why did that happen? Why would that be your first day back? Like just the spinning, right? I felt so like it was the worst timing ever. And how, like who, how, what, why, all the questions, like who called this timing? Who thought this was a good idea? And how, why? Like, why would they do this to you? Why would they do this to me? And ultimately, God, why would you do this to us? How could you? After all we've been fighting for, how could you? How could you do us like this? I felt like all the ground we had gained in 3 months of hard, intentional work. I know this sounds really dramatic. It felt really dramatic. All that we had gained felt like in a moment I just watched it slip through our fingers. And I wanted to roar. I wanted to fight someone. Who was I gonna fight? I don't know. Jared Turner? No. Mark Gandhi? No. I just want to hug those guys. I love the people we lead with. I wanted to fight someone. And ultimately, I wanted to fight God. And I just want to say that everyone gets hurt in the church. Even when you lead the church, maybe especially when you lead the church, you get hurt in the church. Why? Because the church is made up of human beings. It's not church hurt. It's world hurt. Go somewhere and find somewhere you don't get hurt. This is just a part. This is a part of it. It affects all of us. And in fact, the more you care about something, the easier it is to be hurt by it. And this is life hurt. This is people hurt. This is part of the deal. And this was a hurdle for me. God was setting up a hurdle for me. God's design for community it is love and joy and fellowship. It's beautiful, right? It's gorgeous. And it's also not just about meeting our needs. It's also about making us more like Jesus. And he uses the messy, hard, painful bits to do that if we let him. If we don't say, "How dare you?" and walk out the door. And that's what he's doing. That's what he was doing here for me. So, little backstory. We are a part of this just gorgeous family of churches all over the world. And we have dear friends that lead many churches in India. And Vinu and Julie Paul, Trav and I had connected with them over the years. Vinu was doing a sabbatical around the same time that Travis was. And so we invited him out to California. And they came out to stay with us during Vinu's sabbatical. So as I'm in the front yard getting this news from my husband, spinning out and ready to fight someone, I am hosting a family from India in my home for a month. And so I have to turn around and walk inside and pretend I'm fine. Everything's good. Because what am I going to do? Go talk to them about it? No. Okay. Anyway. So I'm just another layer, okay? Of the sort of, thanks, God. I'm just going to go back inside and not even be able to get time to myself right now because I'm hosting other church leaders for you, This is I'm just being honest. This is the depravity that exists in my heart, okay? So I go back inside and I am chopping vegetables and Trav comes up to me and he's like, "Hey Tiff, Vinu and Julie want to worship and pray." Right, yes. I was like, well, I don't want to worship, and I don't want to pray, and I can't fake it. So they get going in the other room, and I kind of slide in and sit down, just like, We get like a song in, and Vinu says, Tiffany, I believe I have a word from the Lord for you. And he opens Matthew 15, and he reads me this story about the Canaanite woman. And he says, Tiffany, this woman refused to be offended. And Jesus said, her faith was great. And he healed her daughter. And he said, Tiffany, you have refused to be offended. Little did he know. Little did he know that I was like currently swimming. I feel like offense had asked me to slow dance, you know? He says, Tiffany, you have refused to be offended. And Jesus says, your faith is great, and he will give you what you're contending for. And you guys, I lost it. I feel like in that one story and in that one line, like I could just see all of my desperation, all of my entitlement, all of my control, like all the ways I had decided that I knew what was right and what my husband needed and what we needed. And I just felt like all of that melted away. I could Jesus is so good and so kind to me. I felt like I had started to slow dance with offense, like the kind that would have taken years out of my life. And he stepped in and was like, hey, can I have this dance? And like in a moment, I just surrendered to Jesus and was like, you can call me whatever you want. You can call me whatever you want. You can do whatever you want in my life. You can bring about whatever meeting at whatever time. You can bring about whatever feedback, whatever words, like whatever circumstances, like you can call me whatever you want. Like, where else can I go? You are life. You are life. And I felt like my heart joined with David's heart in that moment. It is better to be a doorkeeper in the house of God than to be anywhere else. Like, it is better to eat the crumbs that fall. Like, I would rather have the crumbs that fall from your table than eat at any other table, at any other feast, anywhere else in the world. Anywhere else. It's you, Jesus. You're the only way. You're the only one. Where else can I go? And I felt so seen and loved. So seen and loved. And so rightly humbled by God. And I just abandoned deep trust to him again. Like, this isn't my show. This isn't my deal. I'm not in charge of my life. I'm not the one calling the shots. And you're good. You're good. And you know more than I do. And you're onto something bigger that I can't even understand. I felt like God was throwing these hurdles in front of this Canaanite woman to provoke her faith. What about silence? What about rejection? What about offense? And she's like, Jesus, like she will not be called off. And he's doing the same. He was doing the same to me. Like, what will keep you from reaching me? And he's doing the same for you. He wants every hurdle and every obstacle removed. No silence, no rejection, no offense, no circumstances. getting in the way of the reach of your heart for Jesus. He is the only place that you will find life. Life. And whatever thing you think you so desperately need, it's the dessert that comes after the main course of Jesus. Like, it's really not the thing we're after. Even if we think it is. It's him. It's him. And he is cheering us on that we would reach for him. He is cheering us on that we would be women of great, terrific faith. Terrific faith. And so I just want to invite you guys to respond. And I feel like we need to get up and move our bodies. If this word is for you, get up and move forward. If there are hurdles or obstacles, if there are things that have been getting in the way of the reach of your heart for Jesus, or even things you've been after, so desperate for, that are not life in themselves, he's inviting you to come. He's inviting you to get low. Maybe some of you to get down on your hands and knees. To say, Lord, 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 Son of David, have mercy on me. Lord, help me. Come. If you are needing Jesus, come. If you need Jesus, if you are needing that feast, come. If he's inviting you to step over hurdles or obstacles, get up and come. Respond. Move forward. Come. Right now. I'm saying now. Come. Come. Come to Jesus. Come after Jesus. Jesus is the one. His crumbs are better. Even if all you can get are crumbs, they're better than any other option we have. We're running to Jesus. We're coming to Jesus. We're pushing aside the things that want to keep us back. We're stepping over the things that want to call us off from going after Jesus with our whole hearts. We're saying, Jesus, you can have my whole heart. You can have my whole life. Jesus, I am yours. Jesus, you can have your way. Jesus, you can say what you want to say. You can do what you want to do. You can have all of me. You can have all of the people I love. You can have all of my family. You can have all of my relationships. You can have all of my circumstances. You can have it all, Jesus. You can have it all. We give you all. We give you all. Your Lord, your King, your Lord, your King. And I want to pray right now that you would, Holy Spirit, break deception in this room. Break lies. Break places where the enemy has caused us to believe you're not good. Where the enemy has elevated circumstances or offenses or situations that have us all tangled up and we can't get to you. Break deception right now by the blood of Jesus. Your blood, Lord, over our minds, over what we're thinking, over what we're believing, over the stories that we're living in, the stories that we're telling ourselves, the blood of Jesus, the truth of Jesus over our minds. Jesus. You're the one, Jesus. You're the one full of love, full of mercy, full of compassion, full of power, full of wisdom, full of authority, full of life, full of everything that we need, full of everything that we long for. And you bend down low to meet us, Jesus. You came down low to be with us, to save us, to rescue us from the kingdom of darkness, from this world, from ourselves. And you did everything necessary. You cleared the way that we could come to you, that we could get to you, that we could receive your life. Your life in exchange for our life. Our brokenness in exchange for your life, because you broke yourself on our behalf. Thank you, Jesus, for breaking yourself, because you loved us and because you wanted us to find fullness of life in you, Jesus. We receive your sacrificial love, your sacrificial blood, your life. We receive your life, Jesus. We call you Lord. We call you Son of David. We call you King, and we give you all. Holding nothing back from you, bringing our all to you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord, that you know every woman in this room intimately and fully. You know every story. You've seen it all. You know it all. Thank you that you're able to come to each one, speak to each one, pour out your love on each one.